This episode was brought to you by CambodiaSoulmate.com, because sometimes you need to travel the world to find your soulmate. I asked, sensing his agitation. I am awake, after all. He hesitated for a long moment. I would like that, thank you. Deteriorated slightly? Oh, come on! We had a moment! We're bonding! This should be a... Sorry, my nose is itchy. That was a bonding moment! That was men being men! Oh, I didn't get it in time. Captain Kalani was a heavily pregnant Hawaiian woman who found Monsieur Fogg's English accent a source of great mirth. Say something else, she demanded over breakfast. Please, Mr. Fogg. I distracted her with some idle talk. My master cast me a grateful look. All in a day's work for a valet of my unimpeachable caliber. At least strengthened slightly. Fogg. Okay. The fourth day aboard our barge passed quickly. Captain Kalani moved slowly around the deck, her profile jaw dropping large. Okay. When are you due? When will you give up captaincy once you are mother? When are you due? When we dock, she breathed, and not a day before, I should hope. The blush on her cheeks belies her excitement. It is a marvelous thing. Are we about to do the whole, giving birth with Passepartout thing? Is that how it's going to work? Is that what we're doing? We arrived into San Francisco without any further incident. Apparently not. Okay. There are no departures today. We should explore a little. I agree, but first... New Orleans, San Pedro... Dallas, New Orleans. So we got a couple in New Orleans. Plus, I have something in New Orleans, I believe. Yeah, I've got this in New Orleans. I might as well sell this because I'm not going to Acapulco. So we'll go ahead and sell that. And I'm pretty sure we're going to end up in New Orleans. So let's do New Orleans, New Orleans. I'll trouble you not to play that harmonica in my presence again. We shall explore on day 60. Boy. San Francisco seemed less a city and more a ravenous beast bent on the consumption of everything, even of itself. You know, that's not an entirely inaccurate description of San Francisco, even modern day. Crazy city. Within the ever-expanding city limits, enormous steam-powered drills and diggers flattened hills. The building works made it tricky to talk anymore. Steam-powered drills and diggers flattened hills. Straightened roads, reformed neighborhoods, and dumped the resulting rubble and stone into Mission Bay. I sloped towards recently constructed Long Bridge, which was crowded with families out for a stroll and people fishing for silvery smelt with long poles. In the water was a jangle of rowing boats racing each other and boatmen taking passengers out to Mission Rock. Cheers and good-natured shouts emitted from a halfway house in the middle of the bridge. I scoured the water for boats we might take, but there seemed to be none heading out. All were fishing. A man, red-faced and somewhat worse for drink, bumped into me. I excused myself politely, and he made an apology in return, slinging an arm around his shoulders. "Oh, hello!" he exclaimed. "You don't sound like you're from around here." You don't sound American either. I gave him a freezing look. No, monsieur, most certainement I am not. No matter, I was Dutch once in a past life, but now I am as American as President Grant. This is the land of newcomers. You were a prospector? I'm a valet. I don't even know what that is. A brown-skinned woman slipped her arm into his. I regarded her. She was wearing a ruffled walking dress in the latest European style, but with a short tassel jacket embroidered with the patterns of her tribe. Ah, my manners, he shook his ruddy face. I'm Anders, and this is my wife, Jenny. That's a beautiful jacket, I complimented, bowing my head. I made it, Jenny replied with a tiny, wicked smile. I am very skilled with the needle. I hesitated, the obvious question about her origins on the tip of my tongue. Who cares about... Are you... I let my rather uncouth question trail off in embarrassment. She laughed in full-throated pleasure. I am of the Modoc tribe, what the new Americans call Indians. Jenny rolled her eyes. I do not mind your surprise. Most of my tribe has been taken to the Klamath Reservation in Oregon. What's a reservation? Jenny looked at me with utter astonishment. They are tracts of land where the first peoples are relocated. When the whites decided they want the gold, the silver, and the coal, the buffalo in our homelands. Anders whispered something into Jenny's ear, and she laughed, though I feared I had opened an old wound with my prying questions. I nodded and found my way back to Monsieur Fogg, who was sitting drinking tea with a disconsolate frown. It tastes like soap, he remarked, but he would say no more. Now well healed. Alright. Well, I can go to San Pedro and sell off that stuff at San Pedro. We went down to the wharf to find a route onwards. Okay, just checking my time here. But it took a few attempts to find a sailor who looked experienced enough to handle a boat whenever their conditions might occur. We settled into a fishing boat whose name was Salvador, piloted by a Hispanic lady. I named it after my husband, she told, as she slipped the painter, and we pushed out into the water. It is a fine boat, I told her. She smiled gently, a teary look in the corner of her eye. He was not a bad man. He did not deserve his fate, senor. I gulped, but we were too far from the shore to turn back already. Fog was starting to get heat up there. The boat scudded through the water, roughly following the sandy coastline and rocky cliffs of the shore. How long have you lived in California? My husband and I came down in the gold rush, she told me. I spent every day for a year panning the streams and never found a cent's worth. My husband built a boat and caught fish to feed the other panners, and he made a nice business out of it. I'm not sure I want to ask about the husband. I get the feeling he's like dead or something. I didn't want to ask about the husband, so I merely nodded. It was a crazy time. People would put up with just about anything because they figured they'd be rich next week. And then when it started to dawn on people they were never going to strike any gold themselves, and here they were. Picture it, a whole country's worth of people losing their hope together. I did not need to imagine such a thing. There are other things to desire than riches, madam. Things are settled now. What of the original people? There are other things to desire than riches, madam. So says the man with the waxed whiskers and the evening jacket. She shrugged. But you're right. We were lucky Salvador built the boat when he did. Day 60, Monsieur Fogg murmured that night in his sleep. Still some distance yet to travel. Yeah, Fogg. Oh, come on! I clicked Fogg! The second day, Captain Dolores stayed at the tiller through lashing rain that kept my masthead huddled through the rough tarpaulin cover stretched over the well of the boat, and myself with him mopping the rainwater from his brow. Do not be afraid, master, I declared valiantly. I am never afraid, my master replied. Perhaps the only time I have heard him utter an outright lie. The storm lasted well into the evening, and we lost several hours. But the wharf finally the wharf at San Pedro came into view. We land. Take the tiller. There was no moment to lose. I raced up to the back of the boat just as the captain had already dived overboard, painter in her hand. She was surely lost, but my fears only lasted a moment when her head reappeared, bobbing like a seal, and with strong strokes she swam to the shore and looped the rope through an anchor ring and hauled us in. We docked and secured ourselves with 3 more lines. I got myself and I say that's not a danger. I'm sure she does that all the time. I got myself and master ashore, and as fast as we could too, and I swore we would never travel with a fisherman again. Alright, the geometry equipment should be quite valuable. Quite valuable here. Really? That's it? All this stuff is in the world. Let's get some more stuff to sell experience. Exactly how many guns do you think we need? Passport. New Orleans, that's where we're going. We were waiting near the wharf, looking out over the rolling Pacific Ocean in the new town area of San Pedro. I stayed with my master, tending to his needs. This town barely had more than a few thousand residents. If I were to go out, I would no doubt be forced to meet all of them, and I doubt they would prove the most stimulating company. Well, actually, my thought was just that we need to get moving on. Albuquerque, can I negotiate this? No, I can't. What about Dallas? New Orleans? I would like to just literally just go straight to New Orleans if I can. Well, no, but then again, wait. Albuquerque, wait. One of these was for Albuquerque, right? Omaha, Houston, Havana. Oh, I'm not going through Omaha. Oh, I might be going through Houston, though. Yeah, all of this is for New Orleans. So, let's just stay the night. We passed an anxious night. With our 80-day deadline looming, every sunset seemed to carry extra weight. I afforded the master every service. And we need to get moving. Albuquerque, Dallas, that's Houston. We need to just bowl. We just need to go. We boarded the Texas and Pacific Railway, a decent stretch of railroad by all accounts which joined west coast to south. It lacked the speed of an airship, but at least it was reasonably comfortable. Wait. Cholera spreading from... Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know. The first stretch of railroad ran through the empty deserts of northern Mexico. I kept my eyes peeled for bandits. But saw nothing. No settlements, no people, nothing but the discarded picks and huts left over from the construction of the railroad itself. The train pulled jauntily into Albuquerque Station, and from the window I saw a group of gunmen spitting into a spittoon as they talked by the station entrance. Albuquerque seemed, on the brief glance, a lawless place, so we left it quite happily. Train gathered speed once more, and we were off once more. Fog. Reverse. Greetings, Madam Black. New Orleans. I want New Orleans to... maybe Miami? Shoot, none of these are where I want to go here. I want New Orleans up to New York. Or Washington, someplace with an overseas. The railroad turned from east to south at Dallas, where we did not wait long. Few people boarded and few got off, though there was some fuss as the train was shunted backwards and forwards across the points and on a new line. Then we moved onwards through endless prairie, whatever. Okay, New Orleans. I want... Okay, none of this is useful. Just get out of it. Okay, we'll get there. We'll immediately sell off our stuff and we'll see if we can't get up north. Okay, eavesdropping. Trying to find options. I met a nervous American ragamuffin. Had a pleasant, if unproductive, conversation, whom I quickly abandoned as knowing that had a pleasant but unproductive. Okay. Alright, market. Let's sell this boat. This boat. This boat. This boat. Houston, Miami, and Havana. Alright, explore. There we go, to New York, that's what we need. I browsed around, my ears open, investigating the various ways in which we might continue. Land. Atlanta, New York. The wool trousers should help. Shoot. In 2 days. I can't do overnight. I need money when we get to New York. So, all right. Oh, I should have gone to Washington. Well, forget it. We're in a rush. I met Death in a smoke-wreathed, red-lit bar in New Orleans as the jazz band struck up another tune. He offered to buy me a bourbon. Perhaps in 20 or 30 years, I replied archly, as some of the other patrons snickered. Death pulled off his mask to reveal handsome cafe au lait features and dark green eyes, and then extended a skeletal hand to me. A fine costume, I remarked. Merci, mon cher. I am Death at our neighborhood Mardi Gras, and I am practicing my role. He took my proffered hand and brought the back of it to his lips for a gallant kiss. He flicked me a rather unmistakable look under his dark lashes. Sorry, guy. We're not gay. I mean, nothing against you, brother, but we're not gay. To be so clearly desired by Death was unnerving. I found my feet shaking and stepped back. He tilted his face to the side. Do you find my color displeasing? He asked with a lazy smile. Not that. He laughed, low and pleasing. It matters little, mon cher. There are many white men in New Orleans who do. In spite of it, I am a free man. Death resumed his mask. I did not believe in prophecy, but the chill of his cold fingers on my face sent a thrill of fear through me. Abandoning dignity, I ran from the bar, nerves rattling like knuckle bones in a cup. Well, gee, come on, dude, we're not, like, homophobic for Pete's sake. We just, we're just not, we ain't into him, okay? That's all it is. Yeah, let's just do that. Go. The Piedmont Airline from New Orleans was not, in fact, an airline at all, but according to its advertising, the fastest railway in America. What could be better? What could be better for getting us to the edge of the Atlantic? Despite being half the world away, we still had every chance. Converse. Greetings, Monsieur Sullivan. Evening. New York. Not for me, I think. We need New York. Oh, okay. Washington? You've mentioned trains. I've been told Atlanta is like, okay. Okay, I don't... Sounds unhealthy. Are you headed back to Europe? Yes. Always wanted to see the Sistine Chapel. I want to go... Oh, for Pete's sake. I want to... Bye. I don't want to go all that way. I want to go to London. Oh! I could do Washington to Ponta Deleta, whatever. We settled ourselves in a carriage with one other occupant, an extremely large man who introduced himself as Charlie Sullivan, a lad from Birmingham who had grown into something the size of a warehouse building. Bowles of Presidents spoke rather dimly, but was quite the Hulk. Grown into something the size of a warehouse building, with huge tracts of muscle, especially around the neck and upper arms. His mustaches, nonetheless, were perfect. I asked him what had taken him to New Orleans, and he grunted, "Boxing." You fought in a competition? I could see he was most likely an excellent boxer, assuming he knew how to operate those colossal arms of his. However, Monsieur Fogg's interest had been increasing sharply throughout the conversation. You are trained, he demanded keenly, or self-taught? I've got a manager, Sullivan replied. He tells me what to hit. Excellent, excellent. Monsieur Fogg enthused. I want to hear all about it. I sat back and enjoyed the conversation. The details of boxing are more intricate than one might expect, and hearing the business of cut and thrust delivered in Sullivan's so very English tones were quite informative. Little did I know how the details I heard would come to be of use to me. Wait. Fogg valet, dapper, in full report. Oh yeah, apparently since I'm dapper, it makes headline news. Then Mr. Sullivan will, I think, go very far indeed, Monsieur Fogg opined as I brought him kippers from the dining car. He seemed to have the physique, I suggested. Not just the physique, my master replied. Physique is not the secret. His description of the transferal of weight from foot to foot was very well understood indeed. So you are a boxer, monsieur? He engaged. So you are a boxer, monsieur? I saw the shutters of his conversation beginning to come down. I went to school, yes. Boxing school? He blinked at me. I think France is a very curious country at times. He attacked his kippers with some gusto. You should fight him. I should fight him? I almost choked. I laughed at my master's joke. I backed away slowly. I almost choked. He looked at me with surprise. Is something the matter? Forgive me. It sounded as though you said I should fight Monsieur Sullivan. Indeed, he forked another forkful. You needn't be alarmed. I can teach you to box. I rolled back my sleeves. Perhaps you'd fight him yourself. I rolled back my sleeves. I assure you, I am sure you can, monsieur, I replied, and I am a quick learner. Or at least, I thought, somewhat confident in nature. Excellent, Monsieur Fogg put down his paper. I have arranged for a space in the guard's van. Come. When had he done this? I do not know. I merely followed, and there was Sullivan, stripped to the waist, doing his warm-up exercises. Piss poor too, he greeted me through a thick leather mouth guard. I all but burst into tears. Sullivan, I declared meatily, as I removed my own shirt and tried to listen as my master provided some pointers. And then the fight began. Holy cow, I'm boxing a professional boxer now. Sullivan was a tough opponent. If he chose to swing hard, he would brain me unless I defended myself. But he would not be able to slug on every swing. I would have to pick my moments to attack. To begin with, I kept my fists up. matching Fogg's demonstration from across the car, just as Sullivan swung low. The blow landed against my defense. I shook it off as best as I could. A small crowd had gathered to watch the fight, and they murmured with excitement. Strength and stamina are different, Monsieur Fogg called to me from the side. Your strength will come back if you swing lightly, but your stamina, once gone, will leave you out cold. Guys, I need to take a moment and turn my camera on and off again, so I'll be right back.